Welcome to the Coming Clean podcast with your host, Peter O. Estevez.
Hit a dash in my position, you will never last. Real talk, I had to get it from the mall. Real talk, now I'm vibing with a bankroll. Cash.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Coming Clean podcast. Today, we have an incredible guest, a friend, a husband, a father, podcast host, journal creator, and the host of the Be Fulfilled community. Also, an entrepreneur and the builder of multiple 8-figure businesses. My good friend, Tony Grebmeier. Hello, Tony. Welcome.
What up? It's Peter O. Estevez.
Tony, thank you for being with us today. I have been looking forward to this interview. You know, it's been a minute since you and I had an interview. We met about a year ago on social media, and we had forged this incredible friendship, I like to believe, and an incredible bond. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you because I have learned a lot from you. I have learned through our short friendship that feels like forever. You're an incredible giving person, caring, compassionate. You're a good friend. And here on Coming Clean Podcast, I want to thank you and I want to welcome you.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here, and I'm excited for the interview. Like you said, like it's been a year, which is crazy how fast time literally goes when you meet somebody you feel like you've known all your life, and then you just start having great conversations. And yeah, I have a giving heart, right? I've learned a lot from you as well, so it's been fun to go on a journey. So thanks, and I'm ready to rock the show with you.
Well, thank you, Tony. Tony, tell us about ShipOffers, because ShipOffers is your main business, and you very seldom talk about that. You know, you were a DJ, and then after DJing for almost 10 years, you dabble in the web world for a while, and here came ShipOffers with two of your childhood friends. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you know, ShipOffers was a business that was forged from simply I ran a fulfillment and products-based company with one of my partners at the time, and then there was some other people that I was involved in, companies called 𝗔𝗓𝗟𝗓. They're still around, Pat Galvin, Scott Must, and they've ran that thing for, we're coming up on 20 years, so they've been in business 23, 24 years. And Pat and I, at the time, we just didn't see on the same page, eye to eye on everything. So I said, hey, Pat, you go do your thing. I'm going to dip out. What was really cool about what I learned in a short period of time with being with Pat and the guys at 𝗔𝗓𝗟𝗓, I was partners with 𝗔𝗩𝗓𝗟𝗓 for a very short time. He founded Billy Blanks one day in the gym. Billy Blanks went on to then create Tybo. Eric Affolter, former NFL football player. I believe he played for USC and the Green Bay Packers, and Brad Leggett, who also played for the Minnesota Vikings. And so we had started initially just trying to find ways to run products and offers. And you know what I've learned in my 24-year history of being an entrepreneur, product offering is not something I'm good at, but being behind the scenes and working the logistics and figuring out how to get products and services to our clients, that's something that I excel at. So purely, on October 20th of 2000, I was like, all right, enough is enough. I said, hey, I dipped out, went my own way. My previous business partner and myself, we're at my house, and I'm like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, well, let's just go do what we know how to do. Let's go figure out how to sell products. Once again, not very good at selling products, but let's go do it. And we did that for several months, and we realized one of our buddies, Doug, was getting his MBA from Pepperdine and was just wrapping up. And we're like, if we're going to run a business, we need somebody who's good financially to come on board and help us. So we said, hey, Doug, you want to be our partner? He said, sure. And that forged the beginning of our company called i5. And we started in my garage early 2001, and then quickly realized we needed an office. And around March of 2001, we got our first office down in Van Nuys, California. And we did that for about 9.5, 10 years. And we got to the point where we're not going to raise our family anymore in California. And we all kind of began the process of, some people dated. I had 2 small kids, and I'm like, what are we doing? And everybody's like, let's move. And that's how we moved to Colorado, eventually came to Colorado. And we changed our name around 2013 into 2014 into ShipOffers, Because in California, we always had an issue. Everybody was calling us, can I make an eye appointment? Can I come in and see you today? I'm like, whoa, we don't check eyes here. So we switched our name to ShipOffers, which really tells people what we do at the backside. We have products and fulfillment services for online marketers in the health and wellness space, direct to consumer brands, digital marketers, et cetera. And we provide products up front, let you slap your label on them. We'll sell them basically to you by you shipping them to your customers. We'll send you an invoice at the end of the week or whatever your terms are when you set them up, your account with us. And at the end of the day, we become a logistic partner. We become a strategic partner in kind of your success by providing what we do really, really well for the past 19 years. And I love what I do every single day. I remember when there was just 3 or 4 of us in an office, and I'm like, I think one day we'll have more room, we'll have more space, and I think we'll have more products. And my warehouse manager has been with us over 17 years. And my job for the last, almost 18 is to walk into him and go, hey, we got more orders coming. I know it. Just believe in me. We got more orders coming. And now he's like, dude, we need more space. And so it's been really fun to see a business start out with, a couple people and just right around 60 people now in a company running around in the warehouse and in the office. It's just crazy growth, and I love what we do. I love that I'm able to come and lead an organization along with my business partner, Doug, and really help plant a seed for many of these people who come in as just people who want a job. And a lot of them then have become entrepreneurs by being around other entrepreneurs. It kind of rubs off a little bit on you. And so it's cool to see them dabble and win here and there. And all I know is life is about lessons. If you're willing to be open to learning, the world is a powerful teacher, so be ready to learn a lot of lessons.
The world is a powerful teacher. You guys have developed what you call a tripod business philosophy. Tell us a little bit about that and how do you apply that?
A tripod philosophy, meaning my camera that's right now in front of me is a tripod. My bike stand is a tripod. Things just work better when you understand that everybody needs to kind of work together, right? So if you look at, when I was growing up, I used to rock back and forth on a chair with 4 legs. And my business partner, Doug's mom, used to tell me, Joy always used to say, 4 on the floor, right? And a tripod was much like the same. If you bent a tripod or push a tripod, things would fall over. And even if you take a human like myself with 2 legs, it's very easy to push me over. So you need to have good balance. You need to have good people who help hold you up when things are out of control. And a lot of my story and a lot of my life came from trying to be in control around everything. My marriage almost fell apart. My business almost fell apart. My family, as I know it, almost fell apart. I had a lot of issues in regards to me when I was trying to control everything. So I have found balance. And for me, I think the third part of that tripod today is that I'm grounded in God. Like I'm a spiritual being trying to, have a human connection today with as many people, right? So a loving, caring God gives me an opportunity today to plant myself. So here in the business, God for me is the third leg. My marriage, God is the third leg. In my program recovery, God is the third, thing. So it's really, really important when you talk about tripod or a philosophy, Peter, is a belief system. And I just believe no matter what we face as an organization or individually today, we're going to get there, but not on our own kind of like own beliefs. We're going to have a belief greater than ourselves. And for me, that's how I operate in everything that I do. Even if I'm doubtful, I know I have a way out. I know I have a way through finding the answer, and that I don't have to rely on my own. Because my own belief, my own thinking can get me into trouble. But when I rely on the word or scripture or anything for that matter, I can see the clear path. I can see what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be loving, kind, tolerant. Like I'm supposed to be helpful to others. Like I don't think anywhere in the big book that I read or the big book that people refer to as the Bible does it say to be mean to people. It just says love people, help people, give what you can to others, and don't forget to have fun. I don't know if it's in either of those books, but don't forget to have fun. And that's probably been one of the biggest rebuilds of our core philosophy here at this company is to have fun again. I think for a long period of time it was head down, so serious, we forgot to laugh. And over the last, let's say 18 months, I've gone on this mission to bring core values back into the forefront and lead by example, If it's got to be, I'm going to find a way. We're going to lead. We're going to come through it. We're going to grow. We're going to face adversity. And the mess is where I found my message. And so the mess is that what we've been cleaning up around here, there's a message. And the message is we're a great company. We're a solid company. We've been around, like I said, 19 years, 6-time Inc. 5,000 company. Knowing that we're going to get to 7 this year is just a belief. Knowing that we're growing as an organization and leading people who just started. Peter, that's another thing that's interesting. People just started here in the last 3 or 4 months. They only know growth. But the people who had been here for maybe the last 5 or 6 years had seen adversity. And then the people who had been here before that just saw it was normal. And so now you take all of these types of personalities and backgrounds and you put them and you say, hey, look, we're going places we've never gone before. I'm like, where are we going? I'm like, I'm figuring that out. And that has been really interesting for me because I've normally always known where we're going. I've always been able to see around the corner and say, hey, this is what we're doing. But we live in uncertain times. But one thing that is certain, with help, that it's a lot easier to navigate the waters ahead. And history prevails, like as 𝗔𝗩𝗔𝗕𝗟𝗘 says, the last 6,000 years looks like difficulties mixed with opportunities. What's the next 6,000 years look like? Difficulties mixed with opportunity. So I know that we're going to be okay. It's just today I am now steering the Titanic. I tell people all the time, I'm the captain of the Titanic, and there may be some holes in it. Even though we may have hit an iceberg, we're not abandoning ship. We're actually realizing today that we can weld it, fix it, and make it even stronger and go further than we've ever gone before.
Wow. Tony, you and I often talk about the trying times that we're living in today, and that they're exceptional times to lead and not to manage. And I have seen you live that, breathe that, and actually even coach me through that. What do you see, not only in the culture of your company, but in the world as a whole? How are people dealing with the current circumstances? And how is it that we're able to maintain such an optimism like you have, your level of energy, your level of excitement and vision to be a leader and not to get stuck or get gobbled up by the negativity in the world?
What a powerful question. So first, nice work, Peter. I think the thing that I've had to come to, and I'll go back to like a very simple foundational structure that I had as a child. I felt all along in my life that I was needing to believe what everybody wanted me to believe. I was told like this spiritually, this is what you need to do. You should try out for this sport. You should be friends with these people. Now, a lot of what that was my environment, right? So I grew up in a parent with let me start over. My parents divorced when I was like 3 months old. So my mom kept the house, wanted to keep my sister and I in the comforts of our kind of neighborhood and the home we were born into, and kind of wanted to keep us as grounded as possible. And so my mom would work 2 to 3 jobs to put food on the table for my sister and myself. She was a special ed teacher, worked her butt off. Always admired my mom, but also grew up a little frustrated my mom wasn't around. And that was a lot of my head. My head was saying, my mom's never around. She's always working. Like, doesn't she love me? On the flip side, all I saw was the image of my father living like this really nice, glamorous lifestyle. He had a running office in a motorhome, and he was the producer of the Miss California pageant, flying trendsetter, had nice cars, nice clothes, jewelry, everything. Man, I want to be like my dad. So that was kind of like my messed up thinking, is what I saw was one thing, and the reality was my mom loved me and would do anything for my sister and I to keep us in the house. That was the reality. But my vision was she was always gone. Right? That was my vision. And so a lot of what we're seeing in the world today is a vision. And I can't put myself in anybody else's shoe. I can't talk for anybody else. I can only talk for me. And what I know today is we're hurting. And we need to love one another more so than ever. And we need to show grace and forgiveness. And I don't understand how the world has got to the point where it is. But I love the quote from Gandhi, which I live by every single day. It says, be the change you wish to see in this world. And it's up to me. I have to be kindness. I have to be love. I have to be somebody who's compassionate, somebody who doesn't understand what's going on, but needs to sit and listen and not be drawn into controversy. I do not need to get into an argument that doesn't solve the world, doesn't make it a better place. But people need to have a voice. And I want to be able to listen to people who are in pain and understand that you're going to help me to realize what I don't know. So that's why I said, the world is a teacher. Everybody's teaching us something today. And as my neighbor 𝗔𝗩𝗟𝗟𝗘 always says, teaching us something good and something bad. So I don't watch the news. I do scroll through websites like TMZ. That's where I get a little bit of my reality news, right? And what does that look like? It's filtered. It's not necessarily right or wrong. I need sometimes to laugh a little bit and smile and go, all right, cool. I don't know what's going on, but I also know today, like when I was growing up, I have my own filter. What I was brought up, I was born into a Jewish household. Christian was my neighbor. Lived with my father, a Catholic. I came back home, lived with a Christian family who was my business partner, and then married a non-practicing Mormon. And so long story short is everybody wanted me to believe something. And I'm so grateful that I've been given the ability, just like anybody listening or watching this right now, to believe what they want. And do your own investigative work. Ask good questions. Look under the covers. Everything that you see is not everything that you need to see. Some of the stuff is smoke and mirrors. Very much like in The Karate Kid, Daniel's son, wax on, wax off. Why the world is having us wax on, politicians and other organizations are waxing off. And they're manipulating what we're seeing and believing. Even you don't have to believe what I'm saying, but I'm like, do some investigative work. All I wanted to be all my life growing up was somebody who was an archaeologist, somebody who dug under and looked at things. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to follow this path to help me navigate the waters that I don't understand. And I've got a lot of amazing friends who've gone through incredible upbringing, sacrifices, horrific events in their life to help me have compassion. Because the world is a good place. Yes, there's some miserable things going on. There's some miserable people out there in this world. But I believe that good will prevail, that there is better going on in the moment of people having new rules rewritten. And I think that, your question's powerful because without people like you asking great questions, the world will think we have to just sit back and relax while other people will take action. And I'm like, nope. Be the change says there's a lot of responsibility for me. I'm learning. My kids are educating me. My kids are out in the real world going to college right now. They're coming home and having conversations, posting things on social media where they've never posted before. They're posting to get behind movements, to ask and answer questions completely different. So I look at this every single day as an education, and I really am sitting back saying, how can I get involved? And, the world will present opportunities, and the question will be, will you step up? And that's what I'm stepping into every single day is like, Tony, you've been presented with opportunity as an organizational leader, as somebody who runs a podcast, who runs a community, to love people. And so all of my conversations that I've had that have maybe been questions of you've seen suffering and pain, I picked up the phone and had a real phone call. I haven't got drawn into public controversy and got involved in something. And I simply say, I don't know how to love you any other way. There's just, I'm here for you to support you, right? I understand that there's been a lot of things said about individuals, blah, 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 blah. And I said, I'm just here to love. And I can't even begin to tell you how far that has gone from not doing anything to doing something that really is impactful, which is letting people know that you are available, not lip service, being there for them as they walk through their journey, because that's all of us are on a journey, all of us at all times. Doesn't matter. For you, your journey, you've been stuck. You can't go to Tijuana. You can't run your business. It's been hard for you. You've been doing it afar. You've been in Houston. You've been in San Diego. You're trying to run a business. You're on a different journey right now. You're trying to have compassion and help people who don't have a job, or if they do have a job, it's limited hours and resources. So everybody's going through something, and everybody's going through it differently. And all I want to do there is to hold up a mirror saying, I'm with you, see my reflection, I'm beside you.
And you're doing an incredible job, Tony, and you've done it with me. And it shows in everything that you do. It shows on your podcast, it shows on your journals, it shows on your social media presses, it shows who you're messaging. We are living in a time where everything's being questioned. Values, God, beliefs. We are having to have test the hypothesis of our own truth. And it is important for us to do so. It is important for us to question. I grew up in a generation with parents that, their favorite word was "because I told you so." And I am so glad that I had an opportunity to be able to raise a son with an opportunity to allow him to raise me as well. Not me raising him, but us raising each other. I had to reconstruct my thinking in order to get to his level, to be able to understand not only him, but his generation, for me to be able to grow and evolve and adapt to this world. And that's what I look forward to. Tony, in some of the research that I did, there's something that I found fascinating, and I related to it as well. As a young kid, you used to go knocking doors to doors in your neighborhoods and collecting their junk, and then you would go to the flea market and sell it. Tell us a little bit about that, and what was the biggest lesson you learned from that?
Wow. You did some good work. You're an archaeologist. Man, there's an opportunity around every corner, and everybody bitches and complains that there's nothing going on, that nothing ever is going to amount to success for them. And I'm like, you know what? If you would get out of bed and get moving, and the mouth and your body in a direction towards something, you'll be surprised before you're halfway through it. For me, I realized, man, I needed money. My mom wasn't going to give me her teacher's salary for me to go down to the store and buy packs of baseball cards or go play video games or, get new wheels for my bike. Like, if that was something I wanted, I needed to figure out how to do it myself. So I had a bunch of odd jobs, and along those odd jobs, it was cleaning gutters, pulling weeds, painting houses, working at, shops, grocery stores, doing whatever. I made money. But then you would talk in your neighborhood and you'd see signs like, trash runs, and you started asking questions about trash runs, and you realize people just throw a lot of nice stuff away that they just don't want anymore. And I started thinking one day, I'm like, what happens if we just took that stuff and we took it and sold it at the flea market? The flea market, for anybody listening right now who doesn't know what that is, think about drive-in movies. Wait, you probably don't know what those are either. But they're making a comeback. Drive-in movies is going to be perfect for social distancing because you're in your car watching a movie. Well, when the movie theater or the drive-in movie wasn't working, there was a garage sale and big giant flea markets, and everybody had their own stuff set up. So we used to take the neighborhood junk and go sell it. And my goal was to try to get out of there as fast as possible. But there was one problem. I was locked in, and couldn't get out. So if I wanted to be done quick, I needed to sell fast. And so we would try to sell as much stuff as we could by like 6 or 7 in the morning, and they only opened at like 5. So we'd be done by like 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and the flea market wouldn't allow us out until about 11 or 12. So then I was free to go and check out other people's stuff, walk around. And when I got bored with that, I would sit on a milk crate and I'd tell you your fortune for like 25 cents. And, just to have fun, I'd say, let me see your hand. Yep. Yeah, here's your line. You're gonna live a good life. You're gonna be a good person. And I realized a lot of that has transferred into who I am today. Really seeing and believing in people, finding the goodness amongst all the stuff you can't see, helping people to see for themselves. You know what? I am a good person, man. I may have some extra lines or some flaws, but I'm a good person. And that really helped me to realize that was the beginning of the salesman in me, right? That was the beginning of building confidence that, hey, if you don't want to buy my fortune for a quarter, I'd tell you a joke for a quarter. And if you want to hear my joke for a quarter, like, I'll sing and dance for a quarter. Like, I just learned to hustle. And I've done that all my life, and every job that I ever had, you didn't let me go because of my performance. You didn't let me go because of something that I didn't do. I've only been let go of one job, and it was because I gave my brother an ice cream cone. So, and he said he would pay for it. I said, it's all right. And I've learned through all of this, being an entrepreneur for 24 years, being almost 48 years old, that hard work takes effort, and nothing falls into your lap without you knocking on a door, you getting up and asking for help, you seeing the opportunity that's around the corner and moving towards it. Only people who make money in this world, sometimes doing nothing, well, you have to do something, is scratching a lottery ticket. And a lot of people get lucky once and then they quit. And I'm realized I've been scratching lottery tickets all my life. I'm going to scratch because I've never got to the point where I'm done winning. I believe that every day is the best opportunity. And the only way, like, I'll knock one day on your door, Peter, and I'll say, hey, what's up, Peter? Can I come in? And you're going to say, sure. And then we're going to keep building a relationship and a friendship. And I learned that from the very beginning. Most people in this world are afraid to knock on a door. They're timid, they're shy. They go, oh, they won't listen to me. They don't have what I want. And I'm a believer that in all of us is greatness. And so I love to go out and seek the greatness. And a lot of that is in the junk you throw into the side of your yard. And I was like, fine, I'll pick it up and repolish it and sell it and make money. So ever since I was a little kid, I always look and find the good in everything that people think is bad.
Tony, you also have, over the years, collected a great number of friendships. Many friends, Amanda and Sean Stevens, and you were very close to Sean Stevens, and in fact, you're very close to his mother today. You're a great believer of coaching and mentoring. For the solopreneurs and the entrepreneurs, why is that so important, and why is making connections and relationships and building relationships is so important, particularly today when you're trying to grow and advance a business?
Beliefs comes back to beliefs for me. I, as a child, had a lot of false beliefs. Everybody gave me their thoughts, their things that I should believe in. And they literally silenced a lot of my good, positive thoughts, because then I started believing that, you know what, I'm a failure. You know, if I don't follow organized religion, then God doesn't love me, right? You know, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to fit into this group. Or if I don't agree to smoke weed and pot at a party, you're not going to like me, and you're going to, you know, a lot of things as a child that shape who you are as an adult. And for me, I realized that I had a lot of ideas and dreams, and I believed in them, but I didn't have anybody else to say, hey, you know what, you're on the right path. You're walking down some of the right roads. And so mentors of mine, Vinny Fisher, Sean Stevenson, Peter O. Estevez. When you start looking at what these individuals have, they have people around them helping them to navigate the waters ahead, right? And I have Roland Frazier in my life, you know, Jeremy Wise in my life, Ian Garlic, people that I can look upon for insight, advice. My buddy Aaron Stokes, you know, Jordan Waldo. When you start looking at these individuals, right, they put themselves in a position of success. They want to win. Now, success to me isn't making money. Don't take this the negative. Take this as the positive. Friendships are one of the most powerful currencies you can ever have in your life, because we need good friends. Good friends are the ones who know all about you and still like you and want to hang out with you. Mentors and coaches are the ones who've gone through it, done it, and are not afraid to share it with you and say, hey, look, I went through this. Let's do this together and get you out of the mess. Or, hey, you're in a scenario or a situation right now. I've got these resources. We can apply to it. I always tell people in my life, I've got a Rolodex, a wealth of knowledge of friends and people that are willing to allow me to apply their resources to your situation. Can we help you? So Sean Stevenson, love that guy. Just absolutely think about him every day I walk into my office, every time I'm in my podcast studio. Was watching a video about him this morning, shared about him on a coaching call with a friend today. Just left the world way too soon, but left the world so much valuable insight, like Jim Rohn, like Zig Ziglar, like the greats before him, a wealth of knowledge that I can tap into. And a mentor and a coach is somebody who will always be there for you. That's like, for me, you know, I grew up watching Star Wars. And every time, and I've told Sean this many of times, I said, you know, you were like Yoda and I was like Luke Skywalker. I just knew that I needed somebody in my life to train me and coach me and help me get to the next level. I have many coaches in the past, and they've all helped me to find and pull out of stuff that I buried. And that's where I coach from, is that we literally bury the stuff that we should be sharing with the world, because we bury it because we don't think the world needs it. And Sean was able to help me pull out my message by helping me to look at my mess and start saying, hey, you know what? This is something you should be sharing because someone today is going to need to hear that message. During the times right now that we're facing in the world, there is more physical abuse, more marital abuse, there is more suicide, there's more alcoholism, there is more issues going on. So why would I hide that when I know that that's information that could help somebody right today to avoid taking their own life, or to help them avoid breaking up their marriage and going and getting some support and counseling, right? So by having mentors and coaches, they'll help you to dial in some of the things that you are afraid of and realize that that's going to be such a powerful platform for you to grow, and you're going to pull somebody up along the way and you're going to help them grow. And that's how you change generations. That's why Gandhi's quote, "Be the change," is so powerful, because it's not telling me that maybe that guy over there will do it. It's telling me that it's possible and I should go do it.
The reality is, Tony, that you had taught me a lot of what Sean Stevenson had taught you. Over the past few months, we've been working together. And prior to that, I wanted to keep and maintain control of me. But the reality is that in control, there's secrecy, there's weaknesses, there's shame, there's guilt. And we want to bury the things that hold us back. Those are the things that keep us from being the best version of ourselves. And the moment that we start releasing those, the moments we talked about, I felt honored and privileged to have had an opportunity to work with you, and that you have literally used a jam to pry me open, to get me to talk about things that I didn't want to talk about. And you've done a magnificent job without being invasive or without being breaking any type of boundaries like that. And I think that there's a lot of, I'm talking to the solopreneur and the entrepreneur. I think there's a lot of us out there today that perhaps don't want to talk about what's going on in our business. And we begin to get quiet. We begin to get silenced because we're losing control. And instead of becoming proactive, we shut down.
I give a lot of credit to my wife, Amber and myself. Really, we were young. My wife was 18 when we first met. I was 24, married by the time I was 26. She was 20 and I had a baby. Very, very young, started out this kind of family unit. And, we had marital issues. We had our ups and downs. And along the journey, we also had a chance to resurrect a lot of our issues thanks to a good buddy of mine, Brandon Beard, who sat with us on a couch and helped me to see where I had been wrong. And I'm not somebody who likes to admit my faults. But he said, hey, Tony, for you guys to change, a couple things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to have to take the word divorce off the table. So a lot of us begin to throw words around in our vocabulary to make ourselves feel better. Like you're in an argument and you're like, fine, we'll just get a divorce then. No, that's what we do because that's our character defects. Or for me, that's my that's my out card, right? Or you've probably heard somewhere in your life, it's not you, it's me, right? So I started thinking about what is Brandon really saying? He's like, you can't fix a problem if you constantly bring up the problem. You have to start finding a solution. And most entrepreneurs and business owners they're so focused on the problem that they don't even have time to see what the potential solution could be. And so, working with Sean, had the honor of working with 𝗔𝗩𝗔𝗕𝗟𝗘, like I said, working with Roland Frazier right now, they're people who are not perfect. They're flawed. They've had their mistakes, their fair shares of ups and downs. Not everything's gone perfect. I'm in the program of recovery, and my sponsor will be the first to tell you is like, hey man, I made mistakes, but this is what I've done to overcome it. And I like to share with people to know one thing. You're not your past. Your past is just something that you've gone through, and for going through it, you're a better person, good or bad, however you want to look at it. You are where you're at today because you've gone through all of that. So you're capable of getting to this point. But maybe you're saying to yourself, I want to start a six-figure business. I'm like, well, why don't you start like a two-figure business first? Why don't you start a three-figure business, four-figure business? Before you put all that pressure of wanting to go run a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and an 8 and then thinking about a 9-figure business. And most of the people that we go and find as coaches or business mentors are people who've never really done it. We see the Instagram success of the guy who overnight's, pictured with a Lambo, or, he's got 100 million followers on his, Instagram account, but his bank account has zeros. Or you see that, he has all these amazing trips, but he doesn't have any good friends. What I've learned is that I want to be surrounded by people who are raw and real, and they're going to share like, hey, look, man, I'm flawed. I made mistakes. And, my pastor buddy, Brandon, we had him on Networking Remote 2020, and I know his story. We've sat and had amazing conversations about his upbringing and his life and how he turned it around. I want people with real life experience. I want to have conversations, and I want to learn from somebody who, when they hit the nail in, it bent. And then how did they straighten it out and pull it out and look at it and say, nope, I'm not going to hit it again. I'm going to put a new one in and do it all over and do it the right way the second time. I want to talk about that with people because deep down inside, all of us have this desire to be successful. I truly, truly believe it. And like I said, it's not money. A lot of people just want to have a true happiness. They want to have a good marriage. They want to have a good career. Not everybody's going to sign up to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody's going to want to go run a corporate office and have the stress that I do every single day. A lot of people just say, hey, can I just answer the phones and make, $30 an hour or $20 an hour? Can I just have that life? I want to go home at 5 o'clock and not worry about the company on Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Like, it's different for every person. But I know that it starts with one thing, and that's just raising your belief level. And a mentor and a coach will help you to see what you can't see. I call them the blind spot spotters. They can see your blind spots before you can. They'll highlight them, help you. You're never going to get rid of your blind spots. They're always going to be there, but you're going to have opportunities to reframe those blind spots so you can see things differently. And you're like, oh, I'm going to allow this blind spot to help me, not hurt me. I'm going to take this habit that I've been suffering from, and I'm going to build a new habit. I'm going to replace that old habit and put that over here. And then I'm going to build, as Buckminster Fuller calls it, a new model that makes the old model obsolete. So I'm going to get into tactics. That's all life is. It's just you want to go from here to there, right? I think you and I talked about this. Everything in my head is fantasy. When I share it with somebody, it becomes possibility. I want to start this business. I want to go on this vacation. I want to marry this person. Once that kind of happens, that possibility then leads you to the reality. The roadmap of success is when that thing becomes what it is that you want. When you marry that person, you want to go on that trip, right? Or you want to start that business. That's the reality. In between, there are just steps. I call them chutes and ladders because you got to be willing to go up and you got to be willing to go down. Not everything's a straight line, and if you stay on a straight line too long, you flatline and then you're dead. So ups and downs are part of the name of the game, and we just want to be careful that we've got great people along the journey with us, mentors and coaches, people that are going to sit there while we figure some of it out, and then you look to your mentor or your coach and go, is there a better way? Thank you for asking. Yes, there is. But I needed you to struggle for a little bit, because if I just gave it to you, you didn't learn. It's like teach a man to fish or give a man a fish, your choice. Teach a man to fish, I'm going to probably sit back and be very proud of the person that I taught, because he's now going to go pass that lesson on. Kind of like Sean helped me, I'm helping you, right? Passing on lessons is where life should really lead. It's the biblical principles for me. I learned from people like Jesus, the disciples, and all those people they led. Then the right people like Brandon got into my life at the right time, helped me to see where my marriage was wrong because I kept throwing words around. He helped me to reframe those words, take divorce off the table, never to say it again, and then just lead in love and rebuild and rebrand and really help our marriage to get stronger and get better. There's a sign every day when I'm in the shower, my wife put up from one of the songs, and it says, like, basically, I choose you over and over and over again, right? My wife and I, no matter what, if we don't see eye to eye, it's not because somebody wants to be right or somebody wants to be wrong. We're just passionate human beings. And that's what I realize, like you are, Peter, when you're talking to your son. You don't want to be wrong in front of your kid. I don't want to be wrong in front of my kid. But where I found the greatest strength and growth is when Ethan and Owen learn from me and say, hey, you know what? Dad didn't do it right. He could have handled himself better. And then we have a conversation around forgiveness and understanding, and we come together to learn that we're better because of our flaws, because we are not perfect, because we have had so much adversity we had to overcome. Ethan got to see his dad at a very young age be an alcoholic. Owen kind of remembers what his dad was like, but they know ever since then I've stayed sober for all of these years. So they grew up not having to deal with their dad being a drunk. They may remember their parents separated, but they have more knowledge of their parents being together. Everything that you and I are talking about on this interview and today is about taking responsibility and ownership over your life. You want something bad enough, investigate, and then get busy going after what it is you want. And when you're faced with adversity, don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask for help. Most human beings don't want to show weakness. So they say, hey, you know what? I'm never even going to try.
Tony, you just reminded me of something. Ethan at one point came to you and said, you used to be the strongest man on earth, and now you are the weakness. How did that make you feel, and what did you do from that point forward?
Yeah, so I was leaving for the third time. I remember I was telling Amber in the garage, like, hey, I think I'm going to bail again. She's like, oh, okay, but you got to go tell your kid. You got to go tell your other kid. And she was frustrated and pissed and just had it up to here with me. And I went in and I said something to Ethan, and he says, "Dad, you used to be the strongest man I know, and now you're the weakest." And, when you're high on drugs and you are not in the right frame of mind, you say things that you don't necessarily mean. And I'm not saying that I don't take personal responsibility for what I said or did. It's complete opposite. But he doesn't remember saying that to me. I remember him and I having a conversation a year and a half ago, and he's like, "I don't even remember." And I just say, "Hey, you know what? That was God speaking through him to me." And that really, it took me a couple more years to finally get my ship together. And once I did that, I walked in the rooms of recovery 12/15 of '08 and haven't had a drink since, and made a vow to really turn my life over and to right some wrongs. And I still have problems, and I still have things that I'm not proud of that have come up in my life. But today I know how to handle them that I didn't know how to before. So now I'm armed with facts about myself, right? I talked about blind spots. I have blind spots today that I know that still exist, and I just do things about them differently than I did back then. And so Ethan, as you bring up Ethan, he was with me when Sean Stevenson passed. We were driving to take him back to college. He goes to school out in California, and so I live in Colorado. So we were taking him out there, and my phone rang, and it was one of my good friends, Vinny Fisher. He's like, "Did you hear?" And I said, it was the call I didn't want to know, because I knew that there was something going on. And Sean was supposed to be at my house around that time anyways. He was coming to hang out with Billy, and they were going to do some work out in Colorado, and we were going to hang for a few days. And I remember Ethan just putting his arm around me and just loving me and, saying, "I'm so sorry, Dad." And I was so grateful that Ethan was with me and helped me, because I don't know how to cry in front of another human being. Those are some emotions that are deep down buried stuff that, I don't let the world in on a lot. And so he was just able to, just console me and love me and saying, "Hey, you want to pull over?" And I said, "Just keep driving." And then I just started sharing stories about Sean, and quickly that changed a lot of the dopamine hits that I was feeling in my body. And I started smiling and realizing that's how people live on. We gotta keep their spirits alive. And so I can't walk into my office without seeing a big picture of Sean and myself. I can't do anything in my day without thinking of Sean. He is sprinkled in places just like my dad is in my life, so that I see glimpses of the men who have helped guide me through uncertain waters to get to the other side. And then recently I had a conversation. I was a guest on their podcast show. Minnie Kniss is carrying on that message, the Lucrative Project. And I was just super excited to be a guest. And the whole kind of conversation was great, but the little glimpses that we sprinkled in of Sean just made it like red velvet cake with a nice cream layer on the top. It was just perfect. And it was just really good for us to share those stories, because they're so powerful. And then, like you mentioned, Sean's mom, been able to now kind of get to know mom and dad a little bit better through conversations on Facebook. And that's how Sean gets to live on through me a little bit. As I sprinkle Sean into the world sprinkles a little bit of Sean back and helps me to get through my days. I miss my little friend. He's going to have been gone 1 year on the 28th of August. And so it just tells you how quick life changes and shifts. But his period of time was with me was only 4 years. And in those 4 years, I had hired him to coach me. And then we came to a mutual understanding. Let's just be really, really good friends. And so I'd go out and see him from time to time and make sure that he knew that I was always available for him anytime he needed me. And that's kind of how I'm with you or anybody that I come in contact with. Relationships are the most powerful currency you can ever have. You can never have enough good friends. And don't be afraid to admit your faults to your friends. And remember, for things to happen, you have to be a good friend. You can't be a taker. You have to be a giver. You have to be somebody who, will make those crazy calls at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're like, "Hey man, you were just on my heart. I was up wondering if you're okay." Instead of not making the phone call, make the phone call. Those are things that I've learned because of having a really good formed foundation from really strong friends. I've got friends from my childhood. I have my two childhood friends who I grew up with that I lived in a neighborhood with. They're my neighbors now here in Colorado. coming up on 40 years or so of friendship with one and 45 with another. I've got friends from, high school. I've got great friends from college, great friends from radio, great friends from a lot of my careers up until now. And then people who maybe I let go because it wasn't a good fit that I'm still in contact with, or maybe just didn't see the wanting to be here anymore and went out and did their own thing. I'm still friends with that. So I've always learned that you just have to be honest with your friends. And even if they're the most difficult conversations, it's better to work through your ups and downs and your struggles than to just ignore it and sweep it under the rug and hope things get better.
Tony, who has been your biggest influence in your life?
It'll always be my mom, always will be my wife, and always will be my kids. My mom, I didn't give her a lot of credit growing up. She has taught me the world. She always has invested her time, energy, and love into my sister and myself. Loves me regardless. She was the one who 12-stepped me into a recovery program. My wife, just my best friend, somebody who I truly admire, super talented, so grateful to spend my life and go through life with, knowing that I've got a partner invested. We recently purchased e-bikes for mountain biking, and we've been going out almost every day, and whole new kind of level of life and laughter together. Come around the corner and I'm like, I just ate it. And she's like, I did too. I slipped out, and we're just laughing, having a good time. We're parents of, college kids, 19 and 21-year-olds. So we have a lot of free time on our hands. And so, really being able to travel the world and grow old together, or as I like to say, grow young and have fun, really just love one another. And then look to my boys every single day for them to surprise us. Not that I'm surprised at what they're doing, but I love seeing their joy and their spirit and their wins that they celebrate and how they love to share it. Can't wait for them to, create the life that they've always dreamed of. My parents didn't influence me in a negative or a positive way. They just loved me. And that's what Amber and myself have tried to do with our boys. We've encouraged them to take certain steps, but at the end of the day, love them regardless. Whoever they choose to be, whatever they choose to do, that they know they've got two supportive parents and a lot of love around them. Those are the people who, I really admire. And then a wealth of friends. I wouldn't be who I am without a wealth of friends. Great business partner, great business partners in the past. Great people who have encouraged me to take certain steps. My sponsors, I wouldn't be where I'm at without my sponsors. So when I break it all down, it's all interaction. It's all connection and communication. It's what I love. It's what I get out of bed for every single day. Connection and contribution. And how can I do that, and how can I show up?
And you do an incredible job of that. Tony, what has been your biggest lesson during this pandemic?
Biggest lesson through this pandemic, I would say, don't believe everything you see. Investigate everything that you hear. And don't spend too much time on people who don't line up with your belief systems. And, launching a program called Networking Remote 2020, I just used my network to start calling my friends. And what I learned was we all had the same beginning. We were all going through lockdown. It didn't matter if my friends in Italy, my friends in Barcelona, my friends in the UK, my friends, around the world in Houston, whatever. We all were in the same beginning, right? We were like pandemic, like, oh my God, what's going on? And then what I watched over the interviews, and as they started changing, that people are like, oh, I'm going back to my life. I'm going back to normalcy. I'm like, there is no normalcy. What was is over, and what is going to become something completely new. And so I learned through all of this is that humans are great at adapting. We really, really, really are. We are capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. So I think the greatest thing I learned through this pandemic is to be adaptable, to question what you don't believe, ask a lot of great questions, but also look for the opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities. And once again, not talking financial. I'm talking about opportunities for you to grow as a human being. One of the best things that I've done through the pandemic and kind of where I'm at right now is I doubled down on Masterclass. I bought a subscription to masterclass.com. listened to masterclass, started reading more books, starting like taking in information that I wanted to consume, not allowing the world to consume information and then shove it in my face. So I started realizing that I am capable, and that was a powerful affirmation that I needed to remind myself. I am capable of more, and for me to get better, I have to do more around the things that I love. So I rewrote my entire schedule. I used to be 100% booked 7 days a week. I always felt busy and I had to like make everybody happy. As of today, I have 92% of flexibility and freedom on my day-to-day schedule. It allowed me to get back to journaling, allowed me to get back to exercise, allowed me to eat healthy, allowed me to spend more time individually in departments in my company. Clarity. I think if I'm just going to talk this thing out for a moment, clarity. I was able to get clear again on who I am and what my mission in life is. That's what this pandemic gave me. They gave me an opportunity to get back to the basics. And the basics is where you never want to get away from.
Absolutely. I have often say that the universe has paused to give us an opportunity to catch up on ourselves, our dreams, our goals, and our desires. Tony, we're coming up at the end of the show. Tell us a little bit about your podcast. Where can people find it? And tell us about your journal.
Wow. I get to talk about two things that I absolutely love. But maybe for 30 seconds, you and I are going to have a quick little conversation. I want to change my podcast. I've kind of come to the conclusion of I'm done asking people what's their definition of success. So if you're interested in backstory, podcast is called Be Fulfilled, the real stories behind success. And it's been on iTunes and all the other podcast platforms for the last couple of years. I love it. Interviewed hundreds of entrepreneurs in my lifetime. But my new idea that I'm throwing around is I was created for. And so I'm playing with that idea. So I'm excited to have that conversation. So my initial throw out of the title, what did you think?
I like it. I was created for.
Yeah.
So you fill in the blank.
I know. So I'm playing with that one. And then the journal really came from my routines. And I created a kind of a journal off of what I did on a daily basis, some of the life lessons that I worked with you on, others that I've learned along my journey. And I put it in a 300-page, hardcover book that every day you can wake up and you can read the lesson for the week and then track kind of how you're doing. And I think reflection is an essential ingredient to living one's good life. We need to look at what we've done and how we've done it so we know what we want and what we don't want in our life. You can cross out the things that aren't working to start focusing on the things that are working. And it comes with an online course and a community to support you. You can find that at BeFulfilledJournal.com. Everything that I do comes with one idea and one understanding, that I'm just here to help. Right? My podcast is here to serve. My journal hopefully is going to help serve a purpose in your life. Our friendship, hopefully it's going to help serve a purpose in your life. And I really, really want to say thank you. It's cool watching what you're up to, right? I get to see the glimmers and the glimpses of your successes. But the thing that I'm most proud of when I think about you is how you father. And knowing your upbringing and what has brought you to where you're at, to know that everything that you know is now falling back on your kid and setting up the next generation. It's exactly what my mom told me when she 12-stepped me. She's like, if we can help you right now, your kids are going to be in a much better place in the future because of the changes you're making today, right? Because our kids are always watching us, even if we don't think they are, even if they were hundreds and hundreds of miles away from you, they're always in observation mode. Everybody's always in observation mode. And so really honored and just proud to watch how you parent, how you father, but how you're just there. I think that's such a cool thing that my dad wasn't there. My dad was always busy. And towards the end of his life, it was the flip-flop. I was able to take care of him along with my sister, who did almost 99% of the work. But I was able to be there and show up for my dad, completely opposite of how it was for me in the beginning. And that's because I reflected on what I wanted to pass on to my kids. I want to be there for my kids. So I really admire that about you.
Thank you, Tony. I truly believe that as we go through life with adversity, we have a responsibility when we learn to know better. And we have a responsibility to change the course of life of others and for others. For a long time, I did actions and behaviors and destructive patterns that not only affected me, but affected those around me. Well, today I know better. And because I know better, I have a responsibility to carry that message over, not to tell my story, not to share my story because it sounds good, but because I share my story in service. You know, I know better, so I should do better. And I think by leading a life that allows me an opportunity to serve others will teach my son to very early on to serve others. I had to teach myself to do that. I was not taught that. I came from very destructive behavior. But I'm grateful that I had an opportunity to tear down and build back up. And it's been through friendships like yourselves, my sponsor in sobriety, and many other people that have loved me when I couldn't love myself, when I didn't know how to love myself. Tony, it's been a great pleasure having you on the podcast. This is Coming Clean Podcast. This is what we call the podcast. Is there anything you want to come clean about?
Nah, man, I just got to tell you, like, today's a gift. Don't waste it doing stuff that doesn't make any difference. Have fun in all things that you do. Find joy and laughter in what you do. And remember to help somebody up as you're going up, because one day you'll need it on your way down. Incredible
Tony Grebmeier here on Coming Clean Podcast. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thanks for joining us today on another episode of the Coming Clean Podcast. Make sure to join Peter and his next guest on a brand new episode as we continue changing and impacting lives across the world. Share this episode with a friend, follow, subscribe, and leave a review.
Boy, I had to get it fast. Get a dash in my position, you will never last. Real talk, I had to get it from